I've already made one video on this subprime mortgage crisis and what I believe to be a sellout by the Bush administration and how they're addressing this issue. And really, I believe the issues I covered in that video are the main and really the only objections necessary to this bit of policy that's going to be enacted here. But I'm afraid that many people will dismiss that response as purely theoretical and being nuanced and worried about the about the signals we're sending to society, and I'll be criticized for missing out on the practical help that this gives to people. And so I want to talk about those some practical matters and look into whether or not this really is a practical help at the expense of being a theoretical nightmare, or is it really even a practical help? One of the biggest problems I have with this policy is that it's going to freeze the rate for speculators, people that got into these markets when prices were appreciating rapidly, 12 and 13 and 15% in some markets in a year. People could come in, buy these houses, and maybe get them at a discount to start with at a foreclosure auction or a tax auction or something like that. Then, sit on them for half a year or a year, get the appreciation and sell out and take their profit. These guys use these arms to finance their purchases, many times second homes, and many times business ventures altogether. Use these introductory rates to finance the purchases in anticipation of selling them before the higher rate and thus the higher payment hit. So once the housing market started going a bit soft in some of these areas, these guys were stuck with these mortgages, and now they're not being able to sell their homes. Well, this plan freezes for 5 years the rate for these speculators and allows them to ride this storm out, making the payments at the lower rate. And basically they're still going to get their payoff at the end because the market will come back sooner than this 5 years. And so they'll just take this 5 years and then, take 2 or 3 years of it, let the market come back a little bit, keep their lower payment, and then still turn around and flip that house for a profit. Also, this will actually, instead of discouraging this behavior, keeping more foreclosures from happening and more people from getting into arms that they shouldn't be into, this may actually encourage people to get into adjustable rate mortgages that still shouldn't be getting into adjustable rate mortgages, that haven't learned the lesson from the present crisis, because it acts as a backup, basically an insurance plan financed by the government, that people can get into these loans, and it sends a signal that if enough people get into these loans and they begin defaulting on these loans, that the government will step in again. If they've stepped in one time, what is to send a signal to future home buyers that they won't step in again? So you're likely to get more of these types of loans because they feel reasonably confident that the government will do something before the amount of foreclosures gets out of hand, as they say. Also, this is not fair to people that use the arms in the manner they should have been. Everybody knows you have a 2-month introductory rate, and you should either be cleaning up your credit or having a significant increase in salary during that time. And some people actually did that. I was one of them. I found a house. We were looking at houses. We came across a house that was asking price of $94,000. My wife and I were already planning on moving at that time. This was not a special deal we bought just because of the deal we got on it. We were looking to move. We found a house that was asking price of $94,000. It was a foreclosure. And our agent agreed that it was probably worth about $130,000. We offered $91,000 for it, and we got it. we got to the closing table and they presented us with an adjustable rate mortgage. Now, I felt like that was a bait and switch move on the part of my mortgage broker, but that's a different discussion. So we signed the ARM, okay, with a 2-year introductory rate. We knew the rate was not going to go down from record lows. It was only going to go up. So after 6 months, we refinanced. We paid over $4,000 in prepayment penalties and refinance. But we felt like it was worth it, and we got out of that ARM. And we're glad we did now, because rates for us would shortly be headed towards higher payments. Well, when we refinanced, come to find out we were about right on the price. It appraised for $128. And so we were glad we refinanced. We did what was right, though. And we paid to do it. We gave up about $4,000 of equity to refinance. Now, why shouldn't I have just stayed in my ARM and just waited for the payments to balloon and then complain, oh, my rate's about to go up, save me? Okay? This plan is not fair to people like me who did what they should have. You know, it rewards irresponsibility and punishes responsibility. Furthermore, it undermines the validity of private contract. What do I mean? Contracts, for the most part, are taken out between individuals. I say, I'll sell you this car for $500 in such and such condition, and we agree to 2 payments of $250, signed here by so-and-so. Well, if you break the contract, and I take your $250, and you take my car, and you still owe me $250, and then all of a sudden you don't want to pay my other $250, well, what ensures that I get my $250? Well, contract is ruled up, is backed up by the force of the law. I would then go to a court and I would say, hey, look, we had a binding contract that we were mutually agreed to, and he broke the terms of the contract. And they'll review the contract, and if it indeed was a good contract, a legal contract, a binding contract, they'll force you to either pay me my $250 or give me my car back, and that is only what would be fair. But this doesn't do that. This allows 2 people to enter into a contract, one person to break the contract, and then leaves the other person, in this case the mortgage holder, with no way of righting that wrong against them. It's totally unfair. And this leads me to my next argument. The biggest majority of people will say, oh, but these loans were made out by companies with billion-dollar accounting books, you know, and revenue in the hundreds of millions. This won't hurt them. That's a misnomer. Companies are only made up of individuals. We know that to begin with. But these particular companies are even more so owned by individuals. These loans that are backed by these assets are investments. Somebody has put the money up for them to buy that house. You can't go come up with $100,000 right off the bat to buy a house. So you go to somebody in the form of a mortgage and you say, do you have $100,000 I could use to buy this house? And they say yes. So they put that money up and they're expecting a certain rate of return. Furthermore, when a company makes many of these loans, they package these loans together in the form of securities, and they sell them out to investors who then reap the returns over the life of the mortgage. And the originating company simply takes a small fee for selling and for originating the loan, and then for the transaction fee of selling them. Okay, well, how does this affect the everyday Joe? Then mutual funds go in and invest in these securities as part of their portfolios. And of course, you and I own mutual funds through our 401k plans and through our retirement investing and things like that. 401k plans will be hit by this mortgage crisis. And it's not fair to the people that have invested in these instruments expecting a certain rate of return now to have the government come in and freeze them. Lastly, the thing that is worse about this than everything, and I need to check my time, the thing that's worst about this, and I'm running out, is that these people will get in bed and play along with this Bush plan for now, and they'll extract something out of the government at a later time that will be far worse than what's going on right now. I'm out of time. That should be enough reasons.